Chuggaconroy is a popular Nintendo content creator, and here's his channel right here, who has been accused by another content creator, Lady Emily, as seen right here, for trying to initiate foot-based roleplay despite the fact that Chuggaconroy has a girlfriend. Now, Lady Emily has posted screenshots of everything on her Twitter, and we're going to look over all of that. Also, Chuggaconroy has responded to all of this, and we will look at his response and also the response to his response last. Also, I'm dog sitting, so if you hear whining or anything like that, it's just the dog, don't worry about it. So this whole ball got rolling when Lady Emily tweeted out this. Scrolling through Reddit and seeing dozens of comments calling the popular YouTuber who sexually harassed you for several months last year a wholesome bean with green flags, upside down smiley face. And as you can see in the comments, there are a lot of people who are asking who, because he's a popular YouTube creator. Lots of things have come out recently about popular YouTube creators being not so great people. And so people were curious who this was. So finally she tweets out, fuck it. And I say finally, but it's actually just a few hours later. Fuck it, just to get it off my chest. Last year, Chuggaconroy kept trying to get me to initiate erotic foot fetish roleplay with him while he also had a girlfriend. This including sending shoes to my house under the guise of a gift, only to constantly ask for feet pics afterwards. And under that, she posted all of the screenshots about what's going on. And before we read those, and we'll look at those in just a second, it is worth noting that most of the people are in support of her, except for a couple of people that said things like this. Just out of curiosity, what was your response to the first screenshot here, and why would you not include that in the context? As a response to the message you haven't shown would imply that you responded positively. Show all the context before calling someone out for this, and then this is basically what a couple of people want to see. Can we see some of the screenshots uncropped? We'll look at all of this, and we'll look at all of these, and so you'll see why. But a lot of people are kind of curious as to when she posted these, why she didn't post the entire context or scroll through all of their DMs and see everything that was said. So bear that in mind going forward. The dates are a little bit all over the place, and not all the context might be there. And the first screenshots she posted are here. Now, I am going to be reading these in the order that she posted them. However, please keep up with the dates here because the order in which she posted them is not chronological how the conversation happens. So for example, there's some on June 11th. There'll be some taking place in September. There'll be some taking place earlier in June 11th. There'll be some screenshots from later than that. So just to keep your eye on the timeline so that you know what order it happened in, but I'm just going to read it to stay true to how it was presented online. I'm going to be reading it in the order that she posted it. So June 11th, something that we don't see, and beautiful. So she said, eventually I started ignoring him because I wasn't sure how to navigate around him, and he clearly was trying to rope me into this fetish shit. In return for his messages got more frequent and aggressive. And this is her very first screenshot that she's posted, and so this is on June 11th, and beautiful. So originally I planned to go with black and floral pattern, but they lacked it in your size, so I went with what I thought was most likely to go with any clothes. Oh, honestly, and he's referring to a pair of sneakers that he has sent her. Oh, honestly, great call because I love black high tops, but I haven't had any in years and years. Haha, it's my personal favorite shoe. It's a great shoe, goes with everything. Do I ... get to see you in them? Little weird. Haha, thank you. Now, this is September 16th. Haha, thank you. Trying to get a lot done. I want to finish this series or at least get close so that I can travel to Scotland to see my significant other soon. A series he's referring to is some Nintendo video that he was working on at the time. So then this is Lady Emily. She says, oh, cool. I didn't realize she was in Scotland. Yeah, pretty far, but we're thinking of immigration next year. Would you, like to pick up where we left off last night? Ha ha ha, It dropped off so suddenly. And then she doesn't respond to that. You tend to disappear, he said a few minutes later. And then, I'm going to ping you once more a couple of hours later. Well, hello, have a nice doctor's visit the next day. Sorry to ping you again. Also the next day later in the evening, just wanted to know. The next day at night, damn, you're no fun. Kidding, just a little concerned. And then as you can see here, he just, hey, the next day, sorry, am I bugging you too much? I'm just trying to getting done with work, and so I hadn't heard back. And then the next day, he contact her again. Sorry if I'm bugging you. I understand you've got your own stuff going on. Just wanted to wish you well. Yada, yada, yada. That was 3 days later. And then I miss you a month later. Are you getting better? A day after that. Blah. A day after that. Blarkin. 2 days after that. Hey, I hope I'm not piling on. I just saw you were on, which is very weird, by the way. A couple of days after that. Hello. Almost a week after that. You get the idea. It is basically something that you would see on r/sad cringe, especially this section right here, where you can see over the course of like 2 weeks, he's constantly contacting her every couple of days, desperately trying to get her to give him a response. Just a pro tip for anyone out there, if someone spends literal months ignoring you, maybe the best thing to do is to stop contacting them and to move on. These messages straight up come across as kind of pathetic and desperate, and the fact that they keep going on for months is really weird. The next thing she posted was these screenshots, and she said, as far as I know, I'm not the only one nor the first person he's done this to. He will try to assure me everything is fine while clearly trying to initiate fetishized, italicized text roleplay. So this is from September 9th. That's what I thought too, LOL. I was like, I can fix this, but it's funnier if it's flawed. At times I do miss the versatility of the old avatar. It was fun to mess with. I think they're talking about some game or something. They're both gaming content creators, so that makes sense. Is this the face you'd make if I ran off with your shoes at con? Lamau, something like that. Ha ha ha, ... What would you even do? Which is weird. And then this is a few days later, so bear in mind that was on 9/9, and this is on, 9/13 at 11:25 p.m. So a lot of space and a lot of conversation has happened in this time, and we don't know why he's saying this, but we do know that he sent this message. Yeah, being forward with you because I'd rather not keep anything from you and let you make the best decision for you. I am into that. I assume they're talking about shoes or feet or something like that, but only with my significant other. I just also like talking about shoes with people because it's also an interest. I also talked with my SO about this when we started dating, and she told me I can talk about shoes with other people because it isn't sexual with my friends. It's just something I enjoy talking about with my friends too. I know this might be a lot to share, and I'm sorry if it is, but I feel like it's best to just be open with people and consider what I'd like to know if I was in their position. And now, as you can see, that was at 11:25 p.m. Then we get a blank space where we don't know what happens for the next 26 minutes. So there may have been some context or some other messages that she sent or he sent, and we don't know any of that, but we do get this message that says, good, glad we understand each other. It seems very positive. Then italicized roleplay, walks up behind you, trips you with some fancy footwork, you thought on the ground, and I yank your sneakers off in an instant. Haha, loser, chucks them at you. This is weird, straight up. This message right here is pretty cringy and inappropriate. There is nothing in your life forcing you to tell people about or include other people in your foot fetish or shoe fetish based roleplay. In fact, I would go so far as to say most people would be overjoyed if you did not. But I also hesitate to classify this as something that I would consider cancelable because we don't know the context between this message where he pours out his heart and also feet a little bit, and then this message where he says, good, glad we understand each other. There's a 26-minute gap and some response that gave him the indication that she had responded positively to him confessing his enjoyment of feet and or shoes. Now, that doesn't mean it's not harassment, and maybe he could have misunderstood it. Maybe she actually wasn't that receptive. Maybe it was a forced response. She could have just gotten nervous and responded positively for fear of like online backlash or something like that. But we don't know what happened here, but we do know that he appeared to respond positively to it. So I'm not sure I want to call this a cancelable offense just yet because we don't actually know entirely all of what was said. But the screenshots continue with this one. Oop, let me scroll back a little bit, where she says last selfie plus on repeat. I think this is just on Twitter. There's one song, I'm ashamed, blah, 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 going on, so on and so forth. And he takes a picture of that, zooms in on the sneakers, and says, nice sneakers. Now, this is her talking about how it started. It started with him attending my Pokemon Black streams last December and chatting. We started talking in DMs because he seemed chill. Then on June 4th, I uploaded a selfie and he zoomed into my shoes in the background and messaged me about them. Now, this is back, like she says here, this is on June 4th. So it is well before this September 13th conversation. So this is one of the earlier, possibly one of the first conversations they had ever had, where he says, nice sneakers. And presumably he's just sent her a picture of them. She says, LOL, thank you. I need new ones, TBH. My everyday pair is starting to see some damage. Some seems sadly typical due to thin fabric. Yeah, the curse of liking shoes that aren't durable. Got them on a sale though for $20. Can't complain, which, I mean, I respect a good deal. $20 is $20. Hope you've been doing well. Hey, thank you. I just finished editing a video that was nuts to make. It covers this mall you can develop in Pokemon, and then it cuts off and we can see that these messages were sent at 8:47 and these are at 9:39. So once again, we've got a gap where we're not sure what happened or what was discussed or how it got onto this conversation. So he says, so like, do you have a PO box? And she says, not at the moment, no. Oh, ... Well, I was going to see if I could partake in birthday niceness, which I assume she was doing some sort of a birthday stream, and so he was going to send her something, and what he was going to send her was a new pair of sneakers, as they had been discussing here. So then the conversation happens. This is a little while after that. This is about 30 minutes later. So again, we don't know what the context in between these messages was or what was said. He said, and I'm not sure. I think maybe he's saying this. I don't know how many I have. LOL, I have enough for a full stamina bar and 11 hearts. Sorry, that's actually what she's saying. And then he says, you can see it in the loading screen. According to this, I have 54. Don't know what they're talking about. Good work. And then he changed the subject. If I may be so bold, ... Sneaker size. Oh, and this is because he plans to send her sneakers for, I believe she said for her birthday. It could be wrong about that. He says, oh, generally around blank. So she covers it up. Give or take a little, but it's usually what works most often. Nice. Yeah. Okay, then I'll figure something out. Not sure if you have any dislikes for me to be aware of. Now, this is a little odd to be sure, especially with the zooming in and saying nice sneakers, but it doesn't seem like horrible or egregious. They had talked on Twitter before, so this wasn't their very first interaction. Now, this is a little weird, but again, I don't think I would call this cancelable because I don't believe that he's has malicious intent and is trying to cause harm to people by doing this. But in any instance, it goes on, and this is where she's posting videos of the messages proving that it's actually him. And she says, convos would often derail suddenly. One moment we'd be talking about Nintendo games, and then it would shift immediately to feet talk. He was very persistent in commenting on how big my feet were. I tried to respond with blunt jokes to make the vibes less creepy, out of nerves. And the out of nerves thing, I do think is a very legitimate thing to say, because her YouTube channel has about 140,000 people, and his channel has almost 1.3 million. That's a lot of pressure. Talking to someone who's literally 10 times your size, and presumably a creator that you have watched for a while and looked up to because you're in the same space, it absolutely makes sense that you would be nervous about this and not want to tank this friendship, as it were. So here are the messages. I'm going to leave it on paused and just read through. She's just proving that this is in fact his Discord so that you can see his username. And he says, okay, well, I'm going to have to figure this out. Again, this is, I believe, the very first day they talked. This is well before the final messages in September. This is once again on June 4th. Okay, well, I'm going to figure out something. Not sure if you have any dislikes for me to be aware of, which is a continuation of the conversation that we just saw a couple of minutes ago. I'm sure whatever you get me, I'll like. Haha, how nice of you. Yeah, of course. So like, what do you feel about Zelda? I personally really loving it. I think it would be better than Breath of the Wild. And then he doesn't respond. And the next, or sorry, a couple of days later, he says, sent you some stuff today. I had a plan A I couldn't do because your feet were too darn big. So I went a different route. And she says, oh, I'm excited to see what it is. And then she scrolls a little bit because it's a video. And then she says, thank you so much. She says, wow, you took that surprisingly well. Well, in relation to him commenting on the size of her feet. And she says, Lamau, I know my feet are big. It's a thing. I'm curious what plan A was. Ha ha ha, really? Is it a thing you joke about? Which, again, is a little bit weird because he's like asking permission to joke or talk about the size of her feet. Please don't ever do that. She says, haha, I mean, it's not something I advertise, but it's kind of a fact of life, which totally understandable. Haha, it's a fair stance on the issue. I'm lucky I'm a 12, one size bigger, no shoe store would carry my size. I'm lucky that HRT made my size shrink, which is very, very rare. Oh, wow, I guess there's something in the chemicals that position the tendons and men get them spaced farther. Don't know what that means. Maybe he's right, maybe he's not. Yeah, something like that, I guess. I also lost 50 pounds, so maybe that has something to do with it. Nah, you were just more comfortable and at home in this body. That's true too. So good for him supporting trans rights. And once again, it is weird that he is commenting on her feet at all, be it the size or nature of them, and it is off-putting. It gives you the ick, and you absolutely should not do it. But I would, once again, hesitate to call this harassing or dangerous at this point. Now, for the final tweet, just in the interest of you knowing that I looked over everything, there's nothing feet related in this. This is just how they initially talked on Twitter, and this is just her going over the DMs, including giving him the Discord so that they could talk. And this is Lady Emily verifying that she knows this is the real Chuggaconroy because they communicated on his verified Twitter and then contacted over Discord. So there's no confusion about that. So that's the end of the tweets by Lady Emily. She lays out essentially everything foot related, I assume, that she could find in their Discord, going over all of it and then offering proof that this was the real Chuggaconroy doing this. Now, if you remember her very first tweet where she says, excuse me, here it is, scrolling through Reddit, seeing dozens of comments calling the popular YouTuber who sexually harassed you, calling him wholesome. Well, that's in reference to this subreddit right here, r/YouTube drama, where people just talk about YouTube drama and YouTubers. Like, there's some Mama Mac stuff right there. There's some, actually this situation right there. Bo Blacks. There's some stuff with some ordinary gamers. You get the idea. This is a place where people discuss YouTube drama, and specifically the thread that she's talking about, I actually saw and looked over briefly, and it has since been deleted. The only thing that I could find about the thread was just this. It says, Chugga has more green flags under his belt than fucking Markiplier. He's squeaky clean, not to mention the GOAT alongside Nintendo Capri Sun. Don't really know who that is, but basically there was a thread where someone had asked if Chuggaconroy had any controversies at any point, and essentially everyone in the thread said, no, he's a wonderful, wholesome person, and the entire thread was people saying nice things about him. And so Lady Emily presumably somehow came across this and got upset by the fact that someone that she considered a harasser of hers was getting so many compliments. We'll get to Chugga's response and all of this in just a minute, but by and large, what we're seeing in Emily's initial tweet thread is a lot of people supporting her, honestly, as well as they should. It is a weird and creepy scenario, very off-putting, and Chugga should not have done it, but a lot of people are saying, take care, Emily, this behavior is unavailable, I'm so sorry, that's messed up, I saw him and my heart sank, childhood ruined, you get the idea. There are a lot of people supporting her, which is a good thing. And very shortly thereafter, Chugga responds, and he says, hey, I wanted to say I'm sorry to Emily and to you, our community. I apologize for my mistake of overstepping the boundaries of our friendship and causing her hurt in the process. This will not happen again. I'd rather have time to collect my thoughts than react immediately and ask that you not contact my friends about it. I will talk more about this in a few days. This is pretty short and sweet, where he just apologizes for what he did, but I also don't think he entirely gets it. I really don't feel like the word overstepping entirely encompasses how far over the line he was. Essentially, never should you try and engage in foot-based or any fetish-based roleplay with someone who is a fan of your content that you don't know and have no reference point for. Trying to bring anyone who has not explicitly consented into your fantasy is weird and should not ever be done. Now, again, I don't think this was directly malicious per se, and I don't think he needs to be canceled over it like other YouTubers deserve to be, but I do think he needs to be called out and never ever do this again, and I think this is a pretty good way for it to happen. So I think Lady Emily did the right thing in calling it out, and I think Chuggaconroy is doing the right thing in apologizing and owning up for it, and hopefully he'll come out with an apology video where we get maybe some more context and also him promising that he's never going to do this again without explicit consent from the person he's talking about it with. Now, Lady Emily, just a little while after that, addresses his apology, and she says, the apology. While I'm not sure if I fully accept, I do wish you the best in growing from this. I find the framing of this as a simple mistake concerning, which I do kind of agree with. So far, I've talked to half a dozen women who have shared similar stories. I hope your future apology acknowledges that. I'm not sure about this part because, of course, when it's the internet, people will just lie for clout, so I would need this to be verified by some third party, by the people themselves, by posting proof, or by Chuggaconroy admitting that it was done, but I need more than just some people on Twitter told me that it happened to them too, because that's not really a credible source. She then goes on, part two of her response is that this isn't just an isolated incident with me, but a pattern of behavior with several women over the course of the past decade. I hope you're willing to own up to the fact and re-examine the ways you interact with your fans, your peers, and women in general going forward. And I think that is absolutely something that he should do. This second part I think is really good. He needs to own up to what he did and re-examine the ways in which he interacts with his fans, because there is a parasocial relationship with anyone who talks with a content creator they enjoy, and that content creator basically automatically has power over that person given their position. Probably Chuggaconroy had this pattern of behavior and had never had any pushback given his stance as a very popular YouTuber, and I think the call out and the backlash was very well warranted. But also, once again, I don't think anything about his initial conversations with her was attempting to pressure her into being part of his fantasy. He didn't pressure, he didn't threaten, he didn't try and meet up with her in person, he didn't try and coerce her or pay her into doing anything that she wasn't comfortable with. He just was trying to casually steer the conversation towards feet and shoes, and don't get me wrong, that is weird, but I don't think it was maliciously harmful. Now, overall, the response to this entire situation is pretty well divided. It seems like if you were a fan of Lady Emily or are just coming into this conversation, then you were on her side in saying that Chuggaconroy is a weirdo and a creep, and it's messed up that he would do that and that he was a harasser. But it also seems like if you were a fan of Chuggaconroy, after he issued his apology, you were pretty understanding of it and accepted the apology and asked him to grow, but by and large were supportive of him. So usually with internet drama, we see someone on the top and someone on the bottom. Think something recent like The Completionist, where essentially everyone was against him and Mudahar was put on top. But in this instance, it seems like whichever content creator you were a fan of previously, you now believe that they did the right thing and you continue to support them. So I'd love to see your comments on the situation down below, especially if you're not someone who is a particular fan of either of these people, what you make of the entire situation. Thanks for watching.